Hey Squids! Today we're going to talk about a highly debated topic amongst Squidsters: analog versus motion controls. You may remember a time from Squid Kids past during our humble beginnings using analog and being quite oblivious to the apparent preferable control scheme, the gyro. We can all have a laugh about that, and in time we Squid Kids all went on the path to learning gyro controls. Motion controls master race. But, as we have tried to explain in the past, analog isn't as bad as most seem to think. The Japanese team Memories, specifically Yugo, has shined some light on just how viable the use of analog can be in Splatoon. As I mentioned, all of Squid Kids started off as analog players, something you guys wouldn't let go in the comments section of each video. Analog is very intuitive, and it comes naturally to many gamers, especially for those with varying experience from past shooters. But unlike those other console shooters, the responsiveness of the analog isn't as good on the gamepad as it is on other consoles, like the Xbox One, where playing Gears of War with analog, for example, is actually possible. Jumping can be a strain on aim, especially for those who play analog, which is why shooting at someone jumping may be difficult. Yet, it can be even worse when attempting to jump and shoot yourself. With the lack of customization in controls, one method to deal with jump shooters is to either swim away and wait for their landing, or use the claw method, which is using your thumb to press X while the index finger navigates the analog. Analog may have some disadvantages, but no one can deny the comfort of playing and resting back on your seat while poning noobs, something you can't necessarily do with motion controls, since you must be seated in a vigilant position. So what about gyro controls? The gyroscope within the gamepad allows you to use motion controls as a method to aim, and it also controls the camera. It allows for superior aim since you can seamlessly adjust the gamepad towards a target as opposed to micromanaging your aim with analog, something that is analogous to PC gamers, stating that mouse and keyboard is superior to console controllers for the same reason. You can also quickly look at your flanks to see if there are enemies approaching in a fluid motion and then continue to focus your aim directly in front of you. That SRB2 dude explained in his demonstration of motion controls that it's possible to do hard turns, something that is very difficult to pull off with analog controls unless you play with the highest sensitivity. It was for this reason that we made our first video called Y Positioning, to deal with this issue when using analog. Jump shots are also extremely easy to pull off with the gyro since it can be aimed down while your thumb is free to press X. Additionally, it is easier to hit jumping opponents since you can follow their trajectory. Motion controls also make strafing much easier to perform, quickly going left and right while maintaining aim on an opponent, which is yet another difficult task to do with analog controls. But motion controls has quite a steep learning curve due to its unintuitive nature. The camera panning as you move and aim is difficult to grasp, making it a frustrating task. You can also get jammed using motion controls when in a firefight as you move your arms around to aim on an opponent, putting yourself in an awkward position. One suggestion for this issue is to use your hands for steady control of the gyro, as opposed to using your whole upper body in turning the camera. Once the learning curve is conquered, the fluid movement gives you the full experience of Splatoon. But there is one important distinction between the two methods of control: steady aim. Although motion controls allows you a quick ability to lock down on an opponent, sometimes a player may lack a steady aim for the quickest splat. Conversely, using analog to lock down on an opponent may be frustrating, but once the reticle is on the inkling, it is as steady as it could be. When it comes to movement, some may argue that motion controls may have the edge in this category with the ease provided by the gyroscope. You can quickly splash ink on any turf you're about to land on and not compromise your aim on incoming inklings. Although, in some cases, it may actually hinder movement and creativity. I find that I'm spending more time trying to steady my aim and make smoother turns than actually swimming and making creative approaches. But that could be remedied with practice. In my experience, making the transition to gyro controls improved my play overall. In the end, many will argue, including us, that motion controls is superior to analog. But there are many players out there playing at a high competitive level using analog. Mullen, a Scope player, and Mario, a Dynamo player from Determination, formerly known as Squid Squad clubs, use analog. All members of the Squid Box use analog, and they use all sorts of weapons, including aim-heavy weapons like the custom dual squelcher. All of Paradise, formerly Squid Squad Spades, use motion controls, while their overseas rivals, Memories, use a combination of both. So really, in the end, preference is the most important of all. If you're comfortable with analog and you don't think it hinders your aim, then your preference can carry you far, maybe even as far as the Squid Box winning a stacked tournament with analog. That's all for today, Squids. Let us know what controls you use and why you think it's best. Stay fresh!